Hey everyone, this is Randy. Welcome to this edition of E3 Minutes for Life. I'm standing here today in a very noisy Louisville, Kentucky. Right there is an interstate running by. Below that's a major street, hotels. Around me right here is where the Louisville Cardinals play basketball. And so I hope you can hear me okay. It's pretty noisy, but I also want to contrast that with what we see across the river. You know, with the exception of one pretty large hotel right there in a building, it pretty much changes from big city metropolitan to not very much. But here's another interesting thing. I'm standing here in Kentucky, and right there is Indiana. I go not very far up that way, and I'm in Ohio. And there's a lot of places in America like this. I know Four Corners in the Southwest has four different places four different states instead of three in the same place. But what I want to talk about is the convergence of cultures. You know, when you've got a culture of a state that takes on the shape of that state, the personality of that state, or people take on the personality of the state, whatever you want to say there, that comes through laws, that comes through leaders, that comes through history, that comes through people who've chosen to live there because of those things and started businesses and maybe became pillars of a community hundreds of years ago, or whatever the case may be. And right across the river, you've got a place that's much less populated. And when we look at that in the workplace, it's very similar. You know, when I go to different organizations and work with people within those organizations, a lot of times what I hear is, well, we do really well within our department, but we don't communicate well with other departments. You know, just right down the hall is another department. Accounting is down the hall. Marketing is down the hall. Production is in the building in the back. Shipping and receiving is over here. Sales is in a different area. Administration is up front. And we've got to figure out a way to get those cultures to work together. Well, that's what brings us to the bridges. Now, I don't know if you can tell, there's actually three bridges. It probably looks like two on the video. There's three bridges right here. I can see three down this way. The bridges are what get us from one to the other. That's what get us across the river. That's what helps us to make those things join together and be able to connect. And so I just want to ask you, when you look at your organization, who are the bridges that are helping to communicate between those departments? What are the processes and systems that two different departments or multiple departments are sharing that need a better bridge? And I guess the last question I would ask is, if I were to ask your teammates, if I were to ask the people, whether they're on your immediate lily pad or whether they're, again, down the hall or a building across campus or whatever it may be, or even in the field office, would they tell me that you're a bridge? That you communicate in a way, that you try to bring people together in a way, that you try to unify people in a way that keeps it from being three separate states right here together and make us one unified entity striving toward a common goal? I hope that you'll look for ways to reach out. I hope that you'll look for ways to connect with people. I hope you'll look for ways to draw other people together so that you can be that bridge and make your culture work. Thanks for joining us on this edition of E3 Minutes for Life, and we'll see you next time.